Authorities in Greece have declared a state of emergency after the most powerful earthquake so far shook the island of Santorini.
The ground quaked beneath them, a deep rumbling rising from the Earth's core. Birds erupted from the trees, their frantic wings cutting through the once still morning. In an instant, tranquility had shattered into chaos. The tremors grew in intensity, the very air vibrating with their force. Trees swayed violently, their roots straining against the earth, and cracks began to snake across the ground beneath their feet. Dr. Elias Carter stood frozen at the research site, his mind racing even as his body refused to move. The seismic monitors had detected minor tremors over the past few weeks, but nothing like this. Years of studying tectonic activity had not prepared him for the sheer force now tearing through the land. He knew the theory, understood the warning signs, but experiencing it firsthand was something else entirely, a terrifying reminder of nature's unpredictable fury. Nearby, Dr. Naomi Patel reacted without hesitation. "We need to get to open ground," she shouted, grabbing Elias by the arm and pulling him away from the unstable terrain. The urgency in her voice snapped him back to reality, and he stumbled into motion, adrenaline surging through his veins. The research team scrambled, dodging falling equipment and collapsing structures. Inside the small field station, glass shattered, and support beams groaned under the strain before giving way entirely. The once sturdy structure crumbled before their eyes, swallowed by the shifting earth. Elias forced his legs to move, running alongside Naomi and the others toward a clearing free of buildings and trees. The ground lurched violently again, throwing several of them off balance. Elias hit the dirt hard, the impact jarring his ribs and knocking the air from his lungs. Naomi landed beside him, coughing as a cloud of dust and debris filled the air. They turned just in time to see the hillside collapse, a landslide swallowing their research station whole, leaving nothing but a gaping wound in the earth. Silence settled over the group as they stared at the devastation. Months of work, specialized instruments, irreplaceable data, buried under tons of rock and soil. The loss was immense, but survival had to come first. "Is everyone okay?" Naomi's voice was steady despite the horror in her eyes. A chorus of shaky affirmations followed, though some clutched bruised limbs and scraped hands. Elias pushed himself up, his mind shifting to survival mode. They were stranded, and no immediate help was coming. "We need to find higher ground," he said. "This could be a precursor. The worst might not be over." Naomi nodded. "Let's move. This area isn't safe." They helped each other navigate the shifting landscape, every step uncertain. Trees swayed ominously, their roots loosening in the trembling earth. Hours passed before they reached a ridge overlooking the valley. What they saw stole the breath from their lungs. A massive fissure had split the land, swallowing roads and cutting off any connection to the outside world. The nearest town was miles away, and communication lines had died minutes after the quake struck. Smoke curled from fires in the distance, an ominous sign that destruction had reached far beyond their isolated site. Elias exhaled. "We're cut off." Naomi squared her shoulders. "Then we find another way. We have supplies, knowledge of the land, and each other. If we stay calm, we'll make it." The team huddled together, their fear tangible but their resolve stronger. They were scientists, trained to observe, adapt, and endure. As the earth settled into uneasy silence, they braced for whatever came next. The first night was brutal. The air carried a sharp chill, and the aftershocks kept them on edge. They rationed supplies, setting up a temporary shelter with what little gear they had salvaged. A small fire flickered between them, casting long shadows against the broken landscape. Each crackle of the flames was a stark contrast to the eerie quiet surrounding them. "We need a plan," Elias murmured, staring into the flames. "The town is too far to reach in one day, and the terrain is unstable. We have to move carefully." "Agreed," Naomi said. "Some of us should scout ahead while the others conserve energy. If we hit trouble, we need an escape route." One of the younger researchers, Daniel, swallowed hard. "What if another quake hits while we're moving?" Elias met his gaze. "Then we do what we always do. Adapt." Sleep came in short bursts, broken by distant rumbles and the occasional cracking of earth. At dawn, sunlight revealed the full extent of the destruction. Uprooted trees, fissures in the soil, a river diverted by the shifting land. Nature had redrawn the landscape overnight. As they packed up their camp, Naomi turned to Elias. "We're not just survivors. We're scientists. If we gather data on this event, we might help prevent future catastrophes." Elias nodded. "You're right. This isn't just about survival. It's about understanding. We document everything, the aftershocks, the terrain changes, any anomalies. The quake may have reshaped the land, but it won't erase our work." Determined, they set off, each step measured, each movement calculated. They were not just at nature's mercy, they were there to learn from it. As they moved through the wreckage, they saw the full scope of the devastation. Bridges had collapsed into rivers. Landslides had buried entire sections of forest. Smoke plumes in the distance hinted at fires consuming whatever lay in their path. Civilization, where it remained, was in ruins. By midday, they reached a farmhouse, its roof partially caved in, its walls cracked but standing. Naomi raised a hand, signaling the group to slow. "We should check for supplies. If anyone's inside, they might need help." Elias knocked on the battered door. "Hello. Is anyone there?" A faint cough answered. He exchanged a look with Naomi before carefully pushing the door open. Inside, an elderly man lay slumped against a broken table, a gash on his forehead, a makeshift bandage wrapped around his arm. His breathing was labored, his eyes heavy with exhaustion and pain. "Help. Please," the man rasped, barely able to lift his head. Naomi rushed to his side, checking his wounds. "He's dehydrated and in shock. We need to stabilize him before moving on." The team sprang into action, offering water, dressing his wounds, ensuring he was warm. The man, Mr. Langford, explained he had been alone when the quake struck, trapped under debris until he freed himself hours later. His family had gone to town days before and had not returned. "We'll help you find them," Elias assured him. "But first, we get to safety." As the day wore on, they prepared to move again. The destruction was vast, but so was their determination. With Mr. Langford now part of their group, they pressed on, knowing they weren't just fighting for their own survival, but for the lives of those still waiting for help. The earthquake had reshaped the world around them, but it had not broken them. Their journey had only just